We have joining us this afternoon from the United States, Niles, Pyelshak, a cybersecurity expert with Cisco. Of course, we're looking to look at certain cybercrime activities on the continent and its impact on our world. Good afternoon, Niles, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Very fine, thank you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So we're looking to look at the impact of cybercrime in African countries amid underprotected infrastructures. What's the current statistics where cybercrime is concerned, as we've continued to see, emerging laws to safeguard that territory?
Oh, there are several cybercrime that are actually going on right now, ranging from phishing attacks to ransomware, malware. There's a lot of them. In fact, organizations this second quarter of this fiscal year, there's been about each organization goes through about 3,000 cyber attacks per week. That's a 37% increase. Okay, so there are a lot of cyber attacks going on, and we all need to be concerned about it.
What are some of the causative factors for these cyber attacks going on? Especially, we see government agencies come under attack, financial institutions. What would you say is the causative factor to the rise in these attacks?
I think for Africa, one of the biggest things is that Africa is coming online. Okay, so if you think of other first world countries, they are already digitized. Today, Africa is becoming more and more digitized, which means that there are several companies, healthcare infrastructures, there are a lot of businesses, banking organizations that are coming online. And so as they're coming online, that's a playground for attackers. And so the more and more people are using the internet, as you know, more and more of us are relying on our mobile device to use internet. That's an opportunity for attackers to say, oh, where can I infiltrate?
Just on the heel of what you're saying, we're seeing that cybercrime is projected to grow by about 15% per year globally, which was, when we come to numeric trend, is standing at about $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. Would you say that also with regards to this, we've seen Africa increase numerically to about $3 trillion since 2015. Would you say that this is part of what is exposing Africa to these attacks? And these attacks, are they African originated, or we are having the West and the East, as it were, infiltrate into the cyberspace of the African continent?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So thank you for asking that. So yes, Africa is very vulnerable to cyber attacks, and those threats are increasing day by day. One of the reasons, like I mentioned, is because of the fact that we are becoming more consumers of the internet. There are other reasons that is driving this. We have, I'm sure you've heard of 419. There's actually a name of a fraud called a Nigerian fraud, okay? These are happening worldwide, but the problem is that those frauds don't always originate from Nigeria. Okay, so if I am able to steal data from the users in Nigeria, if I'm able to get your BVN, if I'm able to attain your NIN ID, where you're from, your card, I am able to go ahead and perform an attack from anywhere in the world. But the problem with that is that if we have to prove where the problem comes from, we will have to go back to the originator. Where is the source of the attack? And obviously, that's going to be like, well, the name is a Nigerian name. It's a NIN from Nigeria. It's also BVN from Nigeria, etc. So no, not all frauds come from Nigeria, quite all right. But some of them does come from Nigeria, absolutely.
So what are the challenges in Africans being able to prevent cyber crimes, as we've continued to see the consequences on the continent, as it were? What can we do differently? We are still emerging on this space. So what can we do to protect ourselves?
You are so right. Africa, we do face several challenges in being able to prevent, and prevention is not enough anymore. So we have to prevent, we have to defend, and we have to respond to cyber attacks. Okay. Now, there are three things that I want to mention that are key to what is happening in the in cybercrime today. Number one, I would say that internet users are growing. Okay, more and more of us are consuming internet, and more of us are going on social media. We're using it to do work. So definitely that is one challenge. We need to figure out, how does that individual learn to maintain a proper cyber hygiene? How do you make sure that your data is safe? How do you make sure that you're not just signing away your data to social media as much as possible? How do you make sure that you're not exposing your company's computer or data, or your consumers' data? That's one thing. The other thing that I would like to bring up, it's that we have a very narrow number of cybersecurity experts. Okay, so because of the growing nature of cyber attacks, right, we need more and more cybersecurity professionals to be able to not only provide cybersecurity awareness, but also to provide, be able to set up security in organizations, and to be able to prevent, to detect, and to respond. So we have internet users that need to provide their own personal cyber hygiene. We have cybersecurity experts that are in need. And the last thing I want to bring up is the legislative regulations. Okay, so not only are individuals and companies are required to enforce security in the environment, there are things that the government agencies could also do. Like, I met a young lady the other day, and the young lady said, "Oh, I'm a lawyer. I'm a barrister, and there's nothing I can really do in tech." And I was like, "Wait a minute. As a lawyer, if you're interested in cybersecurity, we need governance. We need to create compliances and regulations that could be enforced to ensure that organizations are putting mechanisms in place to protect their consumers." So those are the three main things I would say we could do to prevent cybercrimes in right now in our space.
Okay, so the other question will be, in going to have more cybersecurity experts on the continent, would you say that the cybersecurity space is very complex? Because sometimes, just like in the example of the lawyer that you've given, a lot of people just think it's not something that my brain, can crack open. So would you say that cybersecurity is really a complex deal for people?
So, that's an interesting question. Yeah, cybersecurity requires a lot of experience, but those experience can be learned. There are a vast amount of opportunities in cybersecurity, and you don't have to become the expert starting out. There are different levels to different roles and responsibilities that you can choose to participate. There are entry-level certifications that you can actually get to prepare you to work in organizations, to be able to defend, to protect, and to be able to respond to cyber attacks. Right? Okay. Those things are in place. There are vast amount of opportunities worldwide. This is one of the growing opportunity where you will always have a job if you are able to pick up a cybersecurity skill set and be able to provide that as a service in an organization. Okay. So when you're thinking about a career, you need to be thinking about longevity. Well, how long can you be working in this space? And cybersecurity, as far as internet is concerned, that's not going anywhere. And so therefore, cybersecurity skills will always be needed.
Okay, so just to wrap this up, you were talking about, cyber hygiene, and a lot of people do not even know what that's about. Do you also think that, social media and instant messaging apps are very susceptible to cybercrime? And what is the place of artificial intelligence? Why, just wrap that around how we can stay hygienious where cybercrime is concerned.
Yes. So personal hygiene is very, very important. Once you begin to care about your own personal data, then, when you're working in a company, you'll begin to also care about your consumers or your customers' data. When we talk about personal hygiene, we talk about how much do you put online. We have social medias like Snapchat. We have users that are saying, "Oh, I can put my data on Snapchat and it disappears." No, sir, it does not disappear. Anything you put on the internet will remain on the internet. You may not see it, but tomorrow, someone like myself can pull up as evidence. Okay, so that's number one. And then you brought up AI, artificial intelligence. That is huge. AI technologies does pose real and potential threat to many companies, right? And many companies are beginning to use artificial intelligence to solve problems, to create business processes, etc. And so you know what? Well, if companies are using AI to prevent, to defend, to respond, well, guess what? Attackers are also doing the same thing. They're learning these tools, they're learning the languages, and the threat actors are also using it to provide more sophisticated phishing emails that looks more real for people to bait. They're creating more and better social engineering attacks. So, all around, it's important for all of us to care about cybersecurity, hygiene, because it's going to solve an entire continent as a whole.
Okay. Thank you so much, Niles. That's absolutely the much our time can actually allow us to take on for today. We hope to have this conversation again with you some other time. Thank you for your time on the show. Well, it's our collective responsibility. It's our collective responsibility to see how much we are putting on the internet space, as we've heard the experts say. But that's the much we'll talk about today on Spotlight Africa. Thank you for being a part of this. I am Uyai MM. Do enjoy the rest of your day.